This thing should be trained not to eat people's pretzels. We were looking for a vehicle that would be interesting, and one of the ones I always wanted to try was the Buick Roadmaster. Because the Buick Roadmaster trailering edition, unbeknownst to most people, has an LT1 Corvette motor in it, the entire 9C1 cop suspension and brakes and everything. It's a hot rod station wagon, and it's completely set up to go really quick. So we found one in Long Island, and it was $1,200, which was unusual because these things usually hold their value. And didn't know anything about it, and I was living in California at the time, and I just found it on Craigslist. I talked to the guy, it sounded okay. I sent a friend to go buy it, and he held it at his house for a few weeks for me. So me and my co-driver flew out, and we saw it 2 days beforehand. And Pierce is like, we should get this thing, detailed and cleaned up. I'm like, you gotta do that for him. I was worried about getting an oil change and getting the suspension checked out and everything. And he was worried about detail. Like, we get this vacuumed out and cleaned out. I'm like, no. So we get going on the run, and it's a pretty quick car. It's actually, guy set it up nice. Everything seemed to be going great. And in Illinois, Pierce was driving at a high rate of speed, and a cop came up behind us. And standard set of lights, red and blues, behind us. We pull over, and we look behind, and it's not a cop car. It's like a Buick Regal or something. All right? Which was strange. And 4 guys get out. Not just a cop, 4 guys. They come up on the car. They are fully in black, vested with large semi-automatic weapons, and they tell us to get out of the car, except in a very military fashion, one by one, with specific instructions on how to move and what to do. So one by one, they take us out, they take us to the back, and take another one out, and they take us to the back of their car, and they take us all separated so they could get different stories. Like, what are you doing? And we're like, we're driving to California. And I have a car with no license plate that I had just bought in New York 2 days earlier, driving to California with 3 guys and 1 guy sleeping in the back. I can see the suspicion in their eyes. So they go, we're gonna bring in a drug dog. I'm like, ugh, because it's gonna be a long search. Another truck pulls up, unmarked, and bring out a German Shepherd. It hops in the back, starts going through our car. And the damn thing ate my pretzels. I don't mind the search, but it ate my pretzels. Really. This thing should be trained not to eat people's pretzels. And it's sniffing through, and it stops and starts doing its, I found something thing. And we're looking at each other. Now, we had picked up a third driver who was my friend's brother, who was heading to the West Coast before he headed to Australia or something for some trip. And we knew him, he was a nice guy, we didn't really know him. I'm thinking, did he bring something with him? Because, maybe he's a pothead, maybe who knows? Great. We brought we had a drug addict with us, and we're gonna get busted. The dog is in the center console, it's got nose in there, and they come back, and it's 45 minutes, it's cold, it's middle of the night, and they don't let us touch any of our clothes or anything like that, and we're starting to get nervous because they're real hardcore. And the dog's finding something. They come back and they go, there's something in your car. And we go, we have no idea what it is. And they go, we can't find it, but we know it's there. And they go, what's going on? And it had been a long time. We're doing a Cannonball Run kind of thing. Have you heard of the Cannonball Run? And one of the cops turns to the other one and goes, I told you they were doing a Cannonball Run. I told you. And all of a sudden, everybody's laughing, and they bring us back together, and they thought it was hilarious. We told them what the 2904 was, and they thought it was absolutely brilliant. And one of them's like, oh, I wish I could do something like that. And we found out what their story was, finally. So they were DEA. They weren't cops. And when we blew by them at over 100 miles an hour, they were like, we have to pull you over at that point. We're not traffic cops. But if you're driving the dang thing was lowered with real dark tint on it, so it looked a little suspicious. And apparently the 80 through there is a meth corridor, so they said. So they're like, we had to pull you over. Oh, great. They get us back in the car. 45 minutes have gone by. Now we're still doing okay, so we're gonna immediately get some gas, re-tank up, and start the effort again. So we go, day's just breaking, pull in the gas station, get everything, buy some new pretzels, get everything set up, fill up, switch drivers, take off. We are a couple miles out and we get pulled over again. This time by state troopers. And they're like, we're gonna bring a drug dog in. Like, what? And they're like, and they saw us all freak out, which I'm sure triggered them to think we were actually hiding something. And we're like, these guys just pulled us over 7 miles ago, and they did the whole thing. And like, we don't know what you're talking about. We don't know what you're talking about, you know, because obviously they're on different channels, right? And they went through another full 45-minute drug search. And they said the same thing. There's something in your car. We can't find it, but it's in there. And at that point, we had lost an hour and a half. So that's really disheartening when you're only a third of the way across the country. We got a speeding ticket for the second stop, and it wasn't that quick. It was one of those, you're getting up to speed, you're kind of get the rhythm back. We were doing, 87 or something like that, which is really nothing out there. They're like, okay. And we didn't tell them what we were doing. There was none of the kind of jovial ha-ha that the first stop turned into. It was just a hardcore state trooper doing his job. And you know what? That's his job, and that's totally cool. So we try to be as nice about that as possible. But yeah, a speeding ticket, which the driver never paid, because he ended up moving to Australia. I'm like, did you ever pay that ticket? He's like, no. I'm like, don't go back to Illinois. So as we drove, we took the center console apart. And sure enough, this guy probably had put a bag of pot in there, and there was some shake, and had fallen into the edges inside the center console. So we pulled it off, and we're flicking little chunks of pot out the window as we're going. We're like, not gonna happen again. We didn't get pulled over again, but yeah. So next time, and every time since then, you get the car detailed.